My name is Heather Lenz, and I'm the director of Kusama Infinity. Well, I first became acquainted with Kusama in the early 90s. At the time, I was earning degrees in art history and fine arts. And back then, we had these 2-inch thick textbooks from which we learned the history of art. And after learning about perhaps 1,000 male artists, I had learned about maybe 5 women artists. And at the time, that's just how it was. Through a sculpture class, I was introduced to Kusama's art and just was instantly fascinated by it. Well, the film did evolve as Kusama became more well known. Initially, I zeroed in on a few things about her story, one being her time at the Venice Biennale and the fact that she was there in both the 60s and the 90s. In the 60s, she crashed the event and she set up her mirrored balls, her Narcissus garden, and sold the balls. And this was really frowned on by the art community. And I imagine that it's the halfway point of the film, which it is, even now. And the reason for that is that up until then, I feel like Kusama's playing by the rules and she's trying to get her work into the galleries, and it's not really going as well as it could be for her. And when she goes to the Venice Biennale in the 1960s uninvited, I feel like she has made a decision no longer to be a slave to this gallery system and let them decide when and where she'll show her art. Initially, I had planned to do a biopic on Kusama, and I was working on a script. And I managed to track down the phone number for her staff in Japan, and I had a friend that spoke Japanese reach out and call them and basically announced that I was going to make the film. And so we went ahead and started filming her peers, different curators, and things of interest to the story, and gathering archival, and we put together a pitch tape that we could use to apply for grants. After a few years, we got our first grants back to back, and one of those was for a dream project that involved travel to Japan. And I was at Kusama's studio, and the elevator door opened, and out she came, and she just extended her hand in the Western custom, shook my hand, started talking to me in English. So all of these things that I learned, I didn't actually need them in terms of working with Kusama. That being said, we did the interviews in Japanese because that was more comfortable for her and she felt that she could communicate better. And at the end of that day, I was just so excited because we had finally gotten to meet, and I got to ask her a lot of questions. And back then, again, there wasn't so much written about her, so I couldn't just turn to a book and get answers to my questions. Instead, I had the opportunity to ask her my questions firsthand. And so at the end of the day, I told her it was the happiest day of my life, and she said, "Mine too."